Yo, what the Warriors just did is absolutely genius. Benching Jonathan Kuminga. Is it all part of Steve Kerr's master plan? Are they really trying to kick this fool out of the Bay Area? In today's video, I'm going to break down the latest in the Jonathan Kuminga benching saga and why Steve Kerr may have pulled off his most masterful move. Yeah, before we do that, hey, what's up? I'm Arthur Ballesteros. This is Warriors Digest. If you hear that chair squeaking, hit subscribe right now. We're a daily Warriors channel that gives you updates every single day. So make sure you hit subscribe. Really helps the channel. Let's get into the news of the day. This was the headline from the San Francisco Gate here. He's out of the rotation, period. Warriors seem firm on Kaminga benching. Now, this latest headline came from a quote from Tim Kawakami, who closely covers the Warriors and has here in the Bay Area for decades. This guy is kind of known as a curmudgeon a little bit. He's always kind of seeing things on the dark side, which is kind of why I like him, because he does tell it how it is. But this is what he had to say on the latest Plus Minus Warriors podcast here. So this is saying San Francisco Standard columnist Tim Kawakami and The Athletic's Anthony Slater, who we oftentimes on this channel quote. He's got some of the best Twitter updates for the Warriors here. Anyway, I digress. They briefly touched on Kaminga on the Warriors Plus Minus podcast episode that dropped Monday, being today. Both insiders made it clear that their read is Kerr isn't budging. This is the quote from Kawakami, and every indication is that he's out of the rotation, period, Kawakami said. Now, there might be a change, right? They start losing a game, they lose a game. That might be adjusted, but it wasn't going to be changed because the Rockets are so athletic. That was not going to be changed. Now, this is part of what kind of everybody was talking about here when the Warriors first matched up against the Rockets, when they won the play-in and got against the Grizzlies and got matched up against the Rockets with the 2 and 7 seed. They were saying, look, the Warriors are really going to need Jonathan Kuminga to come off the bench because the Rockets are so young, so athletic, so long. They're going to need him. But as you saw, Kerr didn't even trust him in the final game of the season against the Clippers, nor did he trust him, being Jonathan Kuminga, in the play-in game against the Grizzlies. Now, why is Steve Kerr not trusting him? Well, can point to a lot of things here. I'm going to tell you exactly why, but first, you tell me why you think Jonathan Kuminga has fallen out of favor with Steve Kerr and the Warriors. This went from a guy who was nearly on the verge of signing a max deal to now getting DNPs. This is his third consecutive DNP, and you're starting to see more and more headlines around the Bay Area like this here. Let me bring this up. Again, Kawakami, the Butler trade made Jonathan Kuminga an inessential luxury for the Warriors. Basically what he is right now on the bench. He's an athletic guy who can get you 15 to 20 points a game, and he's not even getting any time. But why? Also, when you look at this, look at Jonathan Kuminga against the Rockets here. So this season he's averaged 21 points a game, almost 7 rebounds, a couple of assists. He's been on fire this year against the Rockets. Now, granted, this was a different team during most of those games against the Rockets. In fact, the first 3, where you look at Jonathan Kuminga was getting more than 30 minutes a game. This was the Warriors before the Butler trade, when they were doing a lot more iso ball with Kuminga because honestly, they didn't have that much talent on the team at the time. Now they have Jimmy Butler. It just changes everything here. But so a lot of people started asking, why isn't Kaminga going to play against the Rockets? Well, it's just clear. Kerr doesn't trust him. He does not trust him. And you look at what Jonathan Kuminga was doing in April here. After he came back March 13th from the ankle injury, you just started to see a decline. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because he doesn't work with Jimmy Butler. And I'm going to show you some stats here in a minute that prove this point. But obviously, Jimmy Butler just lifted everybody. When you saw, let me bring this up here. This is what happened after the Jimmy Butler trade. So after the Jimmy Butler trade, look at that. 2 losses. This is from when Jimmy Butler was traded to the Warriors all the way up until March 10th, the last game that was played before Kaminga came back from that ankle injury. Look what they did. They just rolled over everybody. And I think even one of those games, Philadelphia, I think Butler had to come out early in that game because he hurt his back, if my memory serves me correctly. But they were just on an incredible tier. And then Jonathan Kuminga comes back. So what happens after that? They win a couple more, and then they stumble against Denver. And that was a game where the Warriors were matched up against Denver, and they didn't have Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon went off on them, showing the susceptibility that they had to some of these more athletic wing players that Kaminga's supposed to be able to defend, in theory here. But this is what we started to see, is that you can't play Jimmy Butler and Kaminga on the floor at the same time, which is something the Warriors needed. They were looking for somebody to step in during that time when Steph is off the floor here. But this is what happens when Butler is on the floor. He's got a net rating of 10.2 with Jimmy Butler on the court, which is phenomenal. I mean, look at this. The offensive rating 120, their defensive rating 110, that net rating coming out to 10.2. Just a phenomenal rating here. But what do we get with Jonathan Kuminga when he's on the floor? Only a 4.5. Like, the production gets cut in half there. And this is what Steve Kerr has been trying to say. These two just don't work well on the floor together. Jonathan Kuminga is somebody who kind of demands to have the ball in his hands a lot, but he doesn't shoot the mid-range well, and he also cannot hit from three. After coming back from the ankle injury, he's been hitting below 20% on his threes. I think around 17%. 17% from three on a Warriors team that basically shoot 50% of their shots from behind the arc. So they're going to need somebody who they can just trust, who's going to knock down those threes. And right now, those guys are Guy Santos, which sounds wild. It's Gary Payton who's been hitting his threes at like a 50% clip over the past month. These are the guys that the Warriors and Steve Kerr can trust. And I think that it's genius to not only be able to admit and say, hey, look, one of our most talented players just doesn't fit with this lineup. I have to go with what's right. I have to go with what's working. It's a genius move. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to be able to do something like that. But I want to remind you of something. Steve Kerr, I mean, he's not some idiot. I mean, this is a guy who's got 4 championships. He's one of the few NBA coaches in all-time history with 100 playoff wins. He knows what he's doing when it comes to the playoffs and the matchups. He's a master of this. So him deciding not to play Jonathan Kuminga, I trust it. And I'm not just going to blindly trust Kerr when it comes to anything. I think that he has stunted Kuminga's development in various ways over the years, and that's a whole other discussion here. But when it comes to the playoffs, Steve Kerr knows what he's doing. So trust him, see how it plays out here. But I think that we're just going to continue seeing Jonathan Kuminga rack up these DNPs here until he's needed, and which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. And I mean, we even see here from Draymond. Let me see if I can get this. Let me bring up this quote from Draymond Green that I think is really telling here. I want to make this even larger so you can really see this. Halfway down here, this is what Draymond Green had to say about the Jonathan Kuminga situation. He said, look, he'll contribute. He's great. He's getting his work in. That's all you can do in that situation, is get your work in. And he'll be meaningful for us in this series. I have zero doubt about that. The challenge for him is to stay mentally engaged, as it is for anyone in that situation. But I have zero doubt in my mind that he's going to help us win in this series. Draymond was saying that he thinks that he's going to help in the Rockets series. Mike Dunleavy, the Warriors GM, said the same thing. He thinks that he sees Kaminga pairing up well and being able to defend against the Rockets' young wings. But it's not their decision at this point. It's Steve Kerr. They're going to defer and trust the guy who knows how to win in the playoffs. Another big wrinkle in this, though, is I think it's important to key in on what Draymond had to say here, where he says he needs to stay mentally engaged. I think that we can all read between the lines there, and that this is a consistent problem for Kaminga. And you see it in his play when he gets sloppy, when he starts making turnovers, when he starts doing the things on the court that start getting people accusing him of having a low basketball IQ. This could just be somebody who's not engaged right now, because they're not feeling like they're part of the team because clearly he's in Steve Kerr's doghouse. So do you think Kerr is making the right move here? Do you think the Warriors have a better chance against the Rockets without Kaminga on the floor? I mean, I have to go with what the numbers say, and the numbers say right now the Warriors are just a better team with Jimmy Butler on the floor as much as possible and Steph Curry on the floor as much as possible. And that's all it comes down to. This is the playoffs, baby. Tighten the rotation, get the guys in who are doing the little things and who are playing efficiently, like Gary Payton, GP2, Guy Santos. Reward those guys off of the bench, and guys who are not being as effective, efficient, or productive, or can't make the right play, keep them off the court. That's all I gotta say. Let's get ready for game 2. Let's get the second win. Holler at my dogs. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, that was. I just woke up my baby. I gotta go. Bye.